there must be a change, a return to Africa for Africans. Africa is not for Europe. Africa is not for the Chinese. Africa is not for the Arabs. Africa is for Africans. Just take it. And you see that things fall into place so easily. Sometimes you ask, what is wrong with us? That when you are trading, somebody has even created a border. The Lobi people in Upper East, they spread across Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, and a place called Ghana. And they have 3 markets that you have to cross. They have markets that you have to cross 3 borders in order to attend them on their market days. What's wrong with you? So in whose interest are those lines? The lobby? You are challenged. Learn from the mistakes we are making. And I'm sure the academy is going to teach you some of these mistakes, and at the same time to how to get rid or correct them. The continent must look within and search for lessons and the useful models to lay the foundation of a transformative paradigm towards a viable, stronger, and unified Africa. There must be a reimagining of Africa from Africa. Anytime I see a problem, an African intellectual, head of state, goes to Europe to go and discuss Africa's problems. And why? We are discussing our own problems, our own challenge. Why? Oh, there's this topic of poverty. Poverty in Africa, discuss it here. Why are you poor? You are going to the person who benefits from your poverty to discuss poverty with that person. I mean, Professor N.T., I know you agree with me on that one. I've seen you nodding your head. But that is it, I always watch. And so sometimes you realize that the time is not ready, so you want to stay in your little village in Sekendi and look at those who call themselves statesmen, professors, dashing across from here to here to go and discuss Africa in the oppressive world. Maybe. Young people, I'm glad you are here, and I hope my English words won't be wasted. African spaces must develop their own authenticity. It is within that authenticity that enslaved Africans pray to return to Africa. It was the wish of the Africans who were extracted to other worlds that when they die, they return to Africa. I sat with a bongo man in my house, and as we talked, the bongo man from Jamaica did not want to leave. He says, ever since he was born, his dream was to come to Africa. And that now that he's on this continent, he won't go because Africa is paradise. Here is somebody from Jamaica and teaching me that where I'm living is paradise. He says, you know, my language is not good. He went into the, go and look outside, no? You just put something down and it grows. He looked out. I mean, it taught me so much that I'm living in paradise. So I'm going to church to go to which paradise? And whose paradise? If I want a paradise, I should create it here. For those, for myself, and probably, most probably, those who will come after me. So this is the challenge. The significance of such understanding, ladies and gentlemen, which will reflect in the self-identity, self-definition of Africans, lies in the revitalization and redemption of the African cultural framework that will create the necessary ethos of governance and development. It is absurd to think, well, I don't want to go into there. Now, to get at the white man's creation, one of the most important Africans who actually used a gun to get rid of the Germans from his community says, and listen, Sam Nujoma, he says, Namibia doesn't belong to us alone. Namibia belongs to the African continent. It belongs to Zambia, it belongs to Angola, it belongs to Algeria. Namibia does not belong to us alone. Ghana does not belong to you alone. Ghana is only Ghana because it belongs to the African continent. And that is the beauty of being African. And in that thinking alone, you are getting rid of some of the pillars that are the cobwebs that have been put into our heads. And that's why I said, even in our teaching, right from whatever, is to teach us that we are Africans. We are Africans. Anything that stops us from being an African should be eliminated. It's as simple as that. Who are the forces? What forces? The French Africa was never free. It is now learning to be free. Some of them. English Africa, the Lusophones. I went to Portugal while I was in Lisbon, and I heard one young boy from Lisbon telling me that, you know, Portugal and Angola, they are brothers. I almost fainted. Because I know the history, I know the heritage. I know what they did to them. And now he's telling me that they are brothers. Since when? I went to Cuba, some place they call Santiago de Cuba, and I was forced to speak. And I was thanking the Cubans. I wonder how many of you know that Cuba is the only country or place outside Africa whose sons and daughters have come to Africa to fight for African liberation. They don't teach you this. And when I was thanking them, one woman broke out into song and stopped me from singing, from talking. When I finished, her song was translated to me, and she said she was thanking me for being the first African to go and say thank you for what they did, what they came to do on this continent. So you must have a life of gratitude. And what did they do? She said she lost two of her brothers. They were killed in Angola and buried in Africa. So she carries that memory with her. You, the young ones, are busy leaving Africa. You are buying cemeteries at Kensal Green and all that kind of thing, even before you get there. The Mediterranean lake is waiting to absorb some of you. If you find problems here in Africa, please fight for them here. Don't go and become boy in somebody's land. If the politicians are troubling you, trouble them. If the policemen are not doing what they should do, trouble them. The policemen are for you, not those in governance. Democracy is you. Democracy is not Republicans and Democrats or conservatives and Labour and you should follow. No, it is you and your participation in governance. And that is what chieftaincy all over Africa is about. The direct participation in governance. It is not a matter of parties. Fight for it. Think about it. It's strong. But in Kakakra, the revolution would come. Dr. Danko wrote a letter to C.W. Techimanson, and he said, which is very interesting, we must find a way to make our country live as a force, and the force must be self-generated and generative, indigenous so as to speak. That's what Africa is about. There are some young boys that I've seen all over the continent. They post things on the social media in South Africa, in Namibia. They call themselves AC, African Continental Unity Party. And I've read them. And I said, if the youth at that stage can start organizing with such thoughts, they've been visiting markets, they'll go to shops in Namibia, ask questions, they go to places in South Africa. I said, they are young boys who understand organization, because it's the key.